If you find yourself lost when oil painting, I'm going to teach you how to do it more effectively. You don't have to constantly fight against the materials. With just a little bit of structure, you can build your confidence and get rid of those muddy colors that keep plaguing your palette.
What's up, creatives? Timothy Jan here. I'm a draftsman, painter, and a teacher, making videos to help improve your art. Let's learn something.
If you're anything like me, when you first started out with oil painting, it was really strange. You're used to acrylics or watercolors. Oil paint is just not the same. It just simply does not react the same way. If you work your way through it and build your confidence, understand the dynamics of the paint, your confidence is really going to increase.
Let's break it down. When you go to make a specific color on your palette, fairly predictable issues arise. If you develop a workflow and process, you can incorporate it each time you go to mix a color. The color is made up of three things: hue, value, and chroma. The words you use, your nomenclature, will aid you in your thinking and will help you identify what steps you will need to take to correct any issues. Vocab. Hue is the quality by which we distinguish one color from another: a red from a yellow, a green from a blue, a purple from an orange. The chroma is how vivid or dull a color is. If you're familiar with saturation, this is often used to manipulate the chroma of a hue. Value is how light or dark a color is. This is the area where people are usually the most confident, but also where common overlooked errors are made. Steps to making a color. Identify the color you're trying to make. In this case, this orange. I'm bringing yellow ochre and cadmium red light together to establish my orange. First, try to identify the necessary value. Some artists use a value chart at this stage, while other artists rely on their intuition. If you've never made a value chart, check out my video covering that. You can check your value against the value chart. With paint relatively flat on the palette knife, move to an area that's clearly too dark or too light. Look carefully at the difference between the values. Slide your palette knife over the chart towards the value you're looking for. When comparing the values, ask yourself, is the pile you're mixing too light or too dark? Keep your self-talk clear and actionable. Correct any value issues to the best of your ability at this time. Once at the correct value, observe the chroma of the desired color versus what is on your palette. Observe your color. Ask yourself a clear question. Is the color you're making too vivid or too dull? Again, be clear about your self-criticism. If the color is too vivid, you will have to neutralize it. To neutralize a color, you are bringing it closer to gray. You achieve this by adding gray, white, or black. You can also achieve this by adding the color's complement. If you're unfamiliar with color complements, please watch my color video. Here you can see me neutralizing the orange by adding gray. And here I'm using the complement to neutralize the orange. While both these colors have been neutralized, they are not the same exact hue. You can also decrease the chroma by adding the complement of a color or mixing a high chroma color with a low chroma color. Wait, that sounds confusing. Let's clarify that. If we place the tube color burnt umber on the color wheel, it falls in the orange area. When mixed with cadmium orange, two things happen. The value of cadmium orange gets darker and the chroma of cadmium orange decreases. So be aware that mixing colors, you may also be decreasing the chroma, even if the two tube colors fall within the same general area of the color wheel. Note, you also lose chroma by adding white. With experience, you will realize which direction each tube color moves the other tube colors in color space. This will allow you to better navigate the materials with considerably more confidence. If you're looking to improve your painting and you're finding value in this, please consider subscribing. When things go wrong.
When the color you're mixing on your palette goes awry, one of three things just happened. The most obvious thing to happen is that your value went awry. This is easy to fix as you've either gone too dark or too light. You just need to shift the value back to its appropriate position.
Next, when mixing your color and adjusting the chroma, you can over-neutralize or under-neutralize the color. Allow your eye to travel back and forth between the intended color and the mixed color. Are you more vivid or less vivid than you intended? Does your color appear overly dull or way too vivid? Again, the clarity of language gives you clear clues as to how to fix the issue. Here, my color is way too vivid. Let's correct it. The final way that your color may have gone awry is that you may have altered the hue. When this happens, a way to discuss this is by saying that the temperature has changed. Relative to the color that you want, the color that you are making has gotten warmer or cooler. Orange is the warmest color, and blue is the coolest color.
Temperature is how warm or cool a color is. It's important to remember that it's relative. It's relative to the colors that you're comparing it to. We use it as a descriptive word to describe which way the color is moving on the color wheel. You're either moving towards orange or towards blue.
But keep in mind, there's no such thing as a warm color or a cool color. It's helpful to understand that you have moved in one direction or the other, as it will help you make the correction to get back to your intended hue.
If the color that you're working on has moved a little bit, rather than get super frustrated, what you need to do is pause. Think through logically what just happened. Your color has moved on the color wheel, and it may be very unclear to you. What you want to determine is, did you slide towards red? Did you slide towards yellow? Okay, are you moving towards orange? Are you moving towards blue? If it's really, really unclear, try to eliminate what it's definitely not. Okay, I'm working on a color and it's definitely not yellow, blue, or green. So you've eliminated half of the color wheel, allowing you that you're on the other half of the color wheel to determine where the direction is that you're moving.
Clarity. Over time, you will learn the most direct steps to reach the specific hue. When you begin to fuss with the colors, and in turn bring every color on your palette to correct a mistake, you are guaranteed to make mud. Building better working habits on your palette will help minimize these issues. Mixing with a brush on the palette. Theory is all good, but what about practical application of this? When you mix on your palette, several things take place simultaneously. Because each color has a unique chroma and tinting strength, the amount you need to pick up to make the color you desire varies greatly. Some colors just shout a little bit louder than others. A small amount of phthalo blue can completely take over a color. Let's mix it with white. Let's see what happens when we take the same amount of Naples yellow. While there is a change in the overall value, the tinting strength of phthalo blue is evident in these mixes side by side. So as you go to grab some of the color, the one thing that you want to know is the tinting strength of each color. Most of this is gained through trial and error. If you want to speed up the learning process of this, my video on color charts will teach you a more streamlined way to get used to the interactions of the paint. As you bring the colors together with your brush, you can move smaller piles of the color into the mixing area. Avoid getting large amounts of paint at the end of the belly where the hairs meet the ferrule. This is the heel of the brush. If the brush gets overloaded with paint, it becomes very difficult to control. As well as the residual paint will leak and contaminate the area that you're working on. The common issue people face when mixing with a brush is bringing contamination over from a previous color mix. You can wipe your brush down and remove the excess paint before starting a new color. You can wash the brush out with some mineral spirits, or you can grab a new brush. This is best if you need a high chroma color. Mixing with a palette knife. Some artists really prefer to mix with a palette knife. At first, this tool may be a bit difficult to use, but with some practice, you'll become a samurai with it. Be careful, as the knife will get sharp over time and can cause serious injury. Make sure you use a paper towel or a cloth to clean the knife between mixing. A second knife can be useful to consolidate your mix. Mixing on the canvas. As you're painting, due to the fact that oil paint does not dry immediately and has a substantial open time.
Unlike watercolor and acrylic, the open time in oil paint allows you to have a much longer working day. Once you get an area wet, you can continue to refine the paint, get rid of any brush strokes or imperfections that are happening on the surface of the picture. If you're looking for a very slick finish, this open time allows you to continue to refine and develop your image to a much, much higher finish.
When a color goes down and another brush stroke is applied over it, the underlying paint can affect this stroke. There is an interaction of value, chroma, and hue. And this interaction can push the color in any one of those directions. Through practice, this variable will not be a surprise. And the good news is, in time, you'll be able to anticipate how the change is going to take place. So any adjusting that is happening, you can incorporate into your painting procedure. If you're just getting started on oil paint, check out this playlist here. If you have any questions or comments on how to improve your paintings, I would really like to help by making videos for you. So please leave them down below. If you found this helpful, please subscribe. Make some art today. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.